Journey is a game by ThatGameCompany, released in March of 2012. It has no dialogue, but it still gives the player a story. Journey was, like Flower, another game by TGC, made to elicit an emotional response from the player. It tells a completely unique story that couldn't be told in any other medium. The real story is an intricate tapestry woven by the player's experiences. This analysis will serve not to tell one of those stories, but instead to explain how important elements in each area of the game help to build it. The lighting, soundtrack, and gameplay all serve to set the atmosphere for the player to build their own story. You play as a dark humanoid creature wearing a red cloak. This is a wayfarer. You make your way up a nearby dune, a tall, glowing twin peak mountain in the distance, and you begin your journey. The graveyard serves as the introduction to the world, a vast field of thin gravestones in the sands, crumbling buildings scattered throughout. The soundtrack is the backbone of it. The music is a low droning with an echo that doesn't fit the open desert. It sets an unsettling tone that makes the player feel out of place. Eventually, you'll find a shrine strewn amongst the rubble that opens the path to the next area. Leaving the graveyard brings you to the Barrens. There's no music here to set the atmosphere. It's up to the player to decide what they feel about the place. The level is more direct than the graveyard, but it encourages the player to explore the area for a bit before moving forward, with a puzzle that is spaced out across the sands. Even if you don't want to explore, you would have a hard time crossing the bridge without solving the puzzle, although it's not impossible. This area also helps the player feel more comfortable by allowing them to meet another wayfarer, a random, anonymous stranger. Meditating at the shrine at the top of the bridge parts the sandfall that blocks the entrance to the open desert. The desert is an expansion to the world. It's a massive area to explore with secrets laced throughout. Yet, you won't find yourself getting lost, because all you have to do is follow the mountain. The lighting sets the mood. The previous areas got progressively brighter as you became more familiar with the world, but here the light is supposed to invite exploration. During your exploration, you're likely to come across cloth creatures known as dolphins. These dolphins act as guides to lead you to some of the structures hidden in the sand, and eventually they'll lead you to a tower in the center. The tower is one of the only dark spots in the entire desert, and it's covered by a sandstorm. At the top, you can see a beam of light illuminating a shrine, which makes the player feel safe in the eye of the storm. As you climb the tower, you find some of the dolphins are trapped inside. Meditating at the shrine opens a grate on top that releases them, and they carry you to the canyon. The canyon is my favorite area. It holds an ancient city buried in the sands. Only the tops of most buildings are visible, save for the taller towers and temples. These half-buried buildings seem to have an allure as ramps to the dolphins who brought you here, sliding down the canyon's shallow walls. The music is playful. It's a higher BPM than normal and played entirely in the major key. The lighting is not quite as bright as the desert, but instead the sky is a fiery orange and the color gets richer as you slide further. After a short while, you find yourself at a checkpoint of sorts, and you need to solve a puzzle to scale the wall. On the other side lies more buried houses. The music on the other side is calm and tranquil before picking back up when you leave. The bottom of the second slide presents a breathtaking view of an aged lost. The sunset illuminating it is almost symbolic of that time now. Continuing on, lands you stuck in the bottom of a canyon, where a shrine has fallen. Meditating at the shrine grants you access to the caves. The caves are lit entirely in gentle blues and greens, which gives it an underwater or otherworldly feel. As you progress along, the first dolphin you freed guides you through the area. The music is slow, ranging between highs and lows as you reach a forest of ribbons, and then a pod of cloth creatures shaped like jellyfish. After navigating through the jellyfish room, you find an area through a massive crack in the floor, which offers a green glow. After this point, the gameplay itself serves to tell the story. The lighting and music still do their job well, but when you reach the next room, it's a different case. As you walk into a large open space with large statues around the edge, the dolphin goes ahead of you. It enters a beam of light and a statue comes to life and destroys it. At this point, you have to avoid the now roaming creature. Sneaking past it reveals that there are actually two of these creatures. They're called guardians. They seem almost robotic in nature and serve one purpose: consume and capture scarf creatures. Successfully sneaking past the Guardians leads to a downhill chase where you must quickly make it to a shrine before the Guardians catch you. Reaching it creates a barrier of light that the Guardians can't seem to pass, and meditating at the shrine opens the gate to the ruins. The ruins are those of a tall underground tower that requires the wayfarer to reveal murals for the player to climb. As you light the mural, cloth creatures are revealed which serve as a path upwards. Reaching the top and meditating at the shrine reveals a new mural, a mural about the wayfarer. It shows the wayfarer in all the previous areas. And finally, shows them at the threshold of the mountain, beginning the climb. When the cutscene ends, the threshold opens. The mountain is the most difficult terrain to traverse in the game. Harsh winds drain the power from the Wayfarer's scarf, limiting mobility and forcing more difficult paths. During this section, the player has little control over the camera. This is symbolic of the mountain having more control over the Wayfarer than the player does. It is much harder to see on the mountain due to the heavy snow that limits visibility in the already dim light. The snow gets heavier as you scale the mountain, and the only sound is the wailing of the wind. When you reach the snowfields, you find the Guardians have returned, presenting yet another danger to the climb. Surviving the Guardians brings you to a large snowfield spotted with gravestones. Crashing thunder and flashes of lightning make it obvious. This is the final climb. This is where you will ascend, where you will finally reach the once distant destination of the journey. As you make your slow, agonizing climb, the wind is tearing away at your scarf. The wayfarer begins to slow down. You see your partner fall, and you soon follow. You lay there, either dead or dying in the snow. You failed, alone on the side of a mountain. Your vision fades. Then, through the fog, comes the ancestors, 6 in total. The ancestors give you power. They regrow your scarf. Burst into the storm. Clouds whirl around you, blocking all sight except for the light ahead. Lightning flashes all around. The Guardians dive at you, but they can't catch you. You've reached the clouds. You've reached the summit. The summit is bright and cheery as you meet up with your partner once again. A stark contrast to the bleak mountain before. Your scarf is longer than ever before, and you hop between outcroppings above the clouds that vaguely resemble the different areas you traverse throughout your journey. As you fly past an archway to a space between the peaks, the music dies, and you are left with no sound but the gentle chirps between you and your partner. There's something I noticed while I was editing this video. Towards the end, I stopped talking about why the lighting in the soundtrack and the gameplay makes for such good storytelling. And I think the reason for that is because I don't need to. The final areas are such cinematic and powerful scenes that anything I would have said could only have taken away from it. I found that as I was making cuts to the gameplay, the later into the game I got, the harder it was to find explicit examples of those mechanics. So all I can really say is go play the game. It's a short hour-and-a-half experience of visual and audio beauty, so go, build your story. Take your journey.